I was hanging out in a corner of the yard, picking some tiny plum blossoms for Chloe. Help! Chloe screamed from behind me. I dropped the flowers and sprinted over. Oh, wait, forgot to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Liam. I live with my twin sister Chloe at St. Jude's orphanage. And right now, I was watching three older jerks crowding my sister. One of them snatched her rag doll, the one patched together from old clothes, and chucked it straight into a mud puddle. Back off! I yelled, charging right into the middle of them. I tackled the biggest guy to the ground. But 3 against 1 aren't great odds. They ganged up and shoved me hard into the damp dirt. I wasn't dumb enough to push my luck, so I went with the backup plan. Ms. Martha, they're messing with us! The wooden door swung open. The second Ms. Martha poked her head out, those punks turned pale and bolted without even looking back. Chloe was still sniffling. I scrambled up, grabbed her soaking wet doll, and pulled my sister into a tight hug. Don't cry, I got you. Ms. Martha walked over, ruffled my hair, and gently took the doll. Let me wash this for you, sweetie. Holding her right then, I only knew one thing. She was my whole world. Everything was cool with me and Chloe in this cozy orphanage. But then, a few months later, some loaded couple shows up wanting to adopt a kid, and they pick me. No way was I gonna bail on my sister, especially since Chloe's cough was getting nasty lately. The mold in this place was basically suffocating her. She needed them. She needed a real shot at a future. I slipped into the director's office, looked her dead in the eye, and made it clear. I'm not going anywhere. Cross my name off the papers and put hers there instead. She tried to talk me out of it, but I just stood my ground until she finally caved. But I knew Chloe would never leave without me. So, I had to be the villain. The next morning, she was hanging onto my shirt, sobbing and screaming my name. I reached up and yanked my half of the locket off my neck. The only thing our mom left us before she died. The one we split so we'd always be connected. And chucked it straight into the mud. Get off me, I sneered, forcing my face to stay stone cold. I'm sick of playing babysitter for a crybaby like you. I turned my back and locked the heavy wooden door behind me. I slid down the wall, pressing my hands over my ears so I wouldn't have to hear her heart breaking. That was the day I died inside. 15 years later, we were both grown. The whole world knew her as Chloe, this glowing A-list superstar. She grew up living the high life. I grew up hustling on the streets, but eventually I got my act together, threw on a clean suit, and became a high-end private security contractor, a professional human shield. Fate has a sick sense of humor. Her management called my firm for a VIP bodyguard. Some creep was harassing her with stalker photos, so my boss put me on the job. The reunion went down in a sterile, glass-walled boardroom high above the city. I stood by the door, keeping my face totally blank. The door swung open, and she walked in. She was breathtaking, but she still had that same nervous habit, her fingers lightly brushing her collarbone. She pulled off her sunglasses, and our eyes locked. For a split second, the untouchable superstar vanished. I just saw the 10-year-old girl in the muddy courtyard. My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. Forget professionalism. I took a step forward without even thinking. Hey, Chloe, I managed to say, my voice shaking like a whisper. Long time no see. Her eyes widened. I knew she recognized me, but a second later, that vulnerability snapped shut, replaced by a wall of ice. She looked right through me with dead eyes. Excuse me, I don't know you, so don't talk to me like we're close. Every word felt like a punch to the gut. My whole world just caved in. After 15 years of missing her, the sister I loved more than anything was looking at me like a total stranger. She spun around and demanded her manager fire me on the spot. But the threat level was too high, and the agency said no. She was stuck with me, and I was stuck here, standing 2 steps away from the only person I ever wanted to protect, totally shattered inside, but having to bite my tongue and pretend she was just another client. The next few weeks were a masterclass in mind games. Chloe made it her personal mission to break me. She acted like a total brat, switching up her schedule at the last second, making me sprint through packed airports lugging her bags. When it rained, she'd drag her feet on purpose, making me stand out in the downpour just to keep the umbrella perfectly over her head. She treated me like a piece of furniture. but I knew her better than she knew herself. Under those designer shades, she was just hurting, and I let her take it all out on me without a single complaint, because secretly, I was doing exactly what I promised at that muddy playground. When the paparazzi almost crushed her outside a restaurant, I used my body as a shield, taking a heavy camera lens right to the knuckles to clear a path. My hand bled pretty bad. The next morning, her shy assistant slipped a tube of fancy antiseptic ointment into my hand. Chloe says she doesn't want her security bleeding on camera, the assistant mumbled, said it ruins her aesthetic. I looked down at the tube. A ghost of a smirk crossed my face. She couldn't hide everything. I returned the favor in ways she never even noticed. I quietly bought the exact brand of strawberry milk she used to cry for, leaving it on her vanity before makeup prep. When she passed out in the back seat during long drives, I'd slip my suit jacket over her shoulders, then snatch it back right before she woke up. I was the ghost guarding her castle. Then the night it all went down finally came. Her movie premiere. The crowd was a total chaotic mosh pit of flashing lights. As we headed through the dark parking garage, my gut told me something was off. This wasn't a random screw-up. Later, I found out a rival entertainment agency, totally salty that Chloe stole all their spotlight, leaked her security details and camera blind spots to this stalker psycho on the dark web. They used his crazy obsession just to wreck her. Suddenly, the fire alarm shrieks. Sprinklers go off, creating a frantic downpour. A smoke grenade pops, completely blinding me. Someone shoves past me hard. When the smoke clears, Chloe is just gone. My heart practically stops. Zero time to wait for the cops. I start tracking the GPS signal from a device I'd secretly sewn into her purse lining months ago. It leads me to some rotting, abandoned warehouse at the edge of the city. I kick in the rusty door. Middle of nowhere, tied up tight to a metal chair under a flickering bulb, is Chloe. She's out cold. Then he steps out of the shadows. The stalker, holding a sharp iron rod, eyes totally manic, screaming about how the other company helped so they could be together, destined to leave this world as one. I don't do negotiations with psychos. I charge. He swings the rod wildly, the metal whistling past my ear. I dodge, grab his wrist, and twist it until I hear a sickening snap. He howls like a beast but still manages to tackle me onto the hard concrete. We scramble in the dirt. I shove him off and crawl frantically toward Chloe, desperately tearing at the ropes, but he recovers way too fast. I turn just as he lunges with a heavy plank studded with sharp nails. He's not aiming for me. He's aiming straight for Chloe's head, who is just starting to open her eyes, totally dazed. No time to think. I throw my entire body over hers, turning myself into a human shield. The spiked plank slams down. The nails punch through my suit jacket, sinking deep into my back, tearing muscle. A blinding, white-hot fire explodes in my chest, knocking the wind right out of me. I grit my teeth so hard they practically crack, locking my arms tight around Chloe. I got you, I choke out, tasting the metallic tang of blood rising in my throat. Using my last ounce of strength, I grab a broken chunk of concrete from the floor, spin, and smash it against the stalker's head. A killing blow. He collapses, totally out cold. Sirens start wailing in the distance. My knees buckle, and the whole world spins. Chloe is screaming, frantic hands pressing onto the gaping, bleeding wound on my back. Her fancy designer dress is getting soaked red with my blood. "Liam, stay with me! Don't you dare leave me again!" she sobs, tears mixing with the blood on her hands. I try to smile, try to tell her I'm okay, but the darkness is just too heavy, dragging me straight into the abyss. I don't know how long I was out. Muffled voices, the annoying beep of a heart monitor, the reek of rubbing alcohol. When I finally pried my eyes open, the harsh fluorescent lights nearly blinded me. My body felt like it had been hit by a freight train. But the first thing I actually registered was a heavy weight on my right hand. Chloe. She was passed out in a cheap plastic chair, her head resting on my mattress. Her face was pale, her makeup totally wrecked from crying. But what was sitting on the bedside table made my heart stop. Right next to my water pitcher was a crumpled, yellowed piece of paper, my old orphanage transfer records, now stained with my own blood. And sitting dead center on top of it was the rusted half of the locket I'd carried every single day for 15 years. She stirred, blinking awake. The second she realized I was looking at her, fresh tears spilled down her face. She picked up the half locket, her fingers shaking like crazy. "The director. She was here for an appointment." Chloe whispered, her voice cracking. She saw me out in the hall. She told me everything, Liam. The adoption. What you gave up. She gripped my hand tight with both of hers, burying her forehead against my knuckles. I'm so sorry. I managed a weak squeeze of her fingers. Told you, I rasped, my throat raw. I've always got you. Please rate 5 stars and follow the channel to hear more heartwarming stories.